Hello, and how are you doing today? I have a guest that I am excited to introduce you to. And instead of just like diving in, I want to read her entire bio to you because she's just that good. Allison Jackson is the founder of Allison Jackson Fitness, where she helps high performing women prioritize their health through nutrition, movement, and mindfulness. She's a certified nutrition coach, she's a personal trainer, a yoga instructor, a pro masters figure competitor, and most recently, she obtained her sound healing certification. Wait, we're not done. Her passion lies in helping others learn how to embrace wellness as a speaker for women's retreats, trade organizations, and corporate groups. In addition to offering her signature Coach Yourself Lean online course, she is also the host of the Fit to Lead podcast and the author of the book Flab to Fab in 8 weeks. I just love her book title. So you're going to learn more at www.allisonjacksonfitness.com. Follow her on social, and we will link to everything in the show notes. Enough of me talking. I want to introduce you to Allison. Allison, how are you today?
I am fabulous. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited to talk to you.
Thank you. I am too. I mean, you're doing some new stuff. I mean, not only are you all the things, right, that you have been, you're adding some new layers to your entire world, your coaching, everything. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days.
Yeah. So it's been a wild ride. I started my fitness and nutrition journey. I struggled with my weight through my teens. I competed in bodybuilding. I did the yoga thing. So it's been an evolution. And most recently, all of those tools I learned along the way, training for marathons, training for bodybuilding competitions, has led me down the road of realizing that really the mind is the foundation to the movement and nutrition, because when you have stress in your life and things start to fall apart, you realize that staying grounded and being mindful, training your brain to handle that stress, that's like the foundation. And then the nutrition and movement super important, but without the mindset, it's hard to achieve everything.
It's so true. I tell people all the time, your fitness starts in your brain, in your head, not your feet. And it's I said this to somebody the other day, and I had to correct myself because it didn't sound very nice, but I'm like, you just have to get your brain on board with what you're doing.
Yes,
But it's true,
yes,
right?
that's so true. It's so true. And having a growth mindset and looking at things as an opportunity instead of a challenge. Like, how could I figure, being a problem solver, how could I figure this out?
Yes. So, all right, I want to go several places, but for right now, before we turned on the record, you had said that you had some stuff going on right now, and it's teaching you a whole new way of dealing with life. So tell us about that.
Yes, yes.
And
So,
could I say also, before you get started,
yeah,
not only tell us about what you're up to, but how it applies to them, like to everybody listening, like how can we use this?
yes. So, I always had this saying that how you spent New Year's Eve is kind of like, all right, this is how your year is going to be. Like when you look at New Year's Eve, it's like, you might have a relaxing, chill New Year's, or you might be out partying. So this past New Year's, I spent in the ER with my husband,
Oh my.
and yeah, and we can't like everything. Like he felt like he was dying. Everything was fine. All of his vitals are fine. Nothing was showing up. Um, and this kept happening. So he kept going to the ER. I'm dying. There's nothing wrong with you. Anyway, spent a whole month of this to find out he has a panic attack disorder.
Oh my.
Yeah. So for people that either don't have anxiety or have never dealt with anything like this, it's very scary. It's scary to be the spouse. It's scary to be the person experience it because he feels like he's dying.
Yeah.
And his body is just reacting to the anxiety and has no control over anything. So anyway, that was an entire month. On top of that, I had a full-time corporate job. I ended up being laid off from my job. On top of that, we had a very good friend of ours lose his wife like unexpectedly.
Oh my
So
goodness.
all this was like within a couple weeks. So as you might imagine, when you are faced with all your fears and you are at the bottom, the bottom of the barrel, it's like you either go with the fear or you go with like the love and the strength, and you start using all your tools like meditation and breath work and yoga and all the things that help you stay mentally strong, you realize that those tools really are so powerful when you need them to like support other people. So that has been a huge lesson to me. And I was so regimented in my nutrition and workouts and being okay with like, okay, I need to kind of step back and just do what is going to work for me in this moment in time.
Okay, I have to interrupt because I have a question here. So you've
Hmm.
got all this going on, and this is a lot of stuff. Um, Sometimes we know that we would be better off stepping into the meditation and the breath work and the things that kind of bring us down, but our our adrenaline actually is just so high. We're so hyped up that it's hard to do. Like, I mean, I know for myself, I meditate every day, but sometimes when I catch myself being out of sync and hyped up from something, my first reaction is to just like go go out and go long. Like, go as, as much cardio as I can get. But I know that's not always the thing to do. So how were you able to bring yourself to center in a
Mhm.
way that allowed you to do this with everything going to hell in a handbasket around you?
Yeah, yeah. So, first I would say feel all the emotions, like feel angry, feel sad, be okay to cry. I am a huge fan of if I'm in the car by myself, I will scream on the top of my lungs, screaming, screaming to a pillow, like whatever you need to do. It could be going out running, it could be doing boxing. Like, um, you need to really be in tune with what feels good to you in that moment. It could be breath work, it could be yoga, it could be something like you need activity. Um, but yeah, it's working through, the panic, the anxiety that you might be having watching everything around you. And relying on those tools and being like, okay, I need to cry, or I'm up all night, I'm journaling, doing breath work, I'm doing tapping. If anyone's familiar with EFT, the emotional freedom tapping, that's been a lifesaver for my husband. I taught him how to do it, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, it's like it's so helpful when I
Oh,
really feel like
nice.
I can't control my anxiety."
Right. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got everything going on. You pull into yourself, you pull into your body. So what's next?
So what's next? It's funny how when you really look at everything with like positive intention and love, and not to like sound all woo woo, but it's so much easier to go through life looking at everything with like love and loving on my husband. I'm loving on my friend, like, and looking for the blessings and the helpers, because all of a sudden they all come out when you look for them, when you keep your eyes wide open, when you're not like, my life is horrible, I'm miserable, this is never going to end. When you look and say, where's the goodness in my life, you start to see it come out like gangbusters, and it just energizes you and will help you get through those tough times no matter how tough they are.
So, okay, so the blessings, the helpers, are the helpers the people? Are they the things that happen to just show up in your life? What are the helpers?
Yeah, so for me the helpers are definitely people. They're people that you may friends that it's funny that you might they might casually know, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I had the same problem, or did you try this, and like sharing with people. And I feel like that helps. the, for me that's very cathartic to share with others what's happening, so that what should I do, what would you do, hearing other perspectives. But then the blessings also, when you like sit back and open your eyes, things like, or like you see things like, oh well, maybe like, the panic attack disorder, like he might have sleep apnea. Like all of a sudden I'm reading things like these are all like very similar symptoms, so let's get him tested for that. Like, just look for the solutions, look for the things that are going to help you, instead of being so like closed off and dark. And again, that goes back to the growth mindset.
Right, right. And you say not to go all woo woo. Have you read the book Why Woo Woo Works?
No.
You
Oh,
have to
I
read
gotta
this
add that
book.
to, putting that on my
Okay.
list.
Um, and it may be Why Woo Works, but it's
Yeah,
David Hamilton, I'm pretty sure is who it is. And it is such an interesting book because he's a scientist. He was R&D for cancer, and I don't remember what else. It might have been heart and doctor, all the stuff. But he just started like looking at life a little differently. So the book is Why Woo Works, or Why Woo Woo Works, one or the other. But he actually takes the science of it, right?
I love
And
that. I love
I
that.
mean, it's crazy. I was reading his new book today, and he's got one called oh gosh, now I'm just going to butcher everything. So all y'all just, I'll put it in the show notes, but I think it's about why happiness, changes your life, and it's so interesting because it's the science behind basically what you're talking about.
I love
It's
it.
it's so cool because we think about, like, like the old, lemon experiment, right? If you think about a lemon, your mouth starts to salivate, right? Because 'Cause you're gonna bite in that lemon, right? So, why does that happen to our bodies? It's our bodies and our minds working together and all the hormones, all the, neurons, everything going on. It's pretty fascinating to me. So
It
this
really
is
is.
where you're
I
diving
love it.
into a little bit,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes, I keep saying I'm like wellness with a touch of woo, wellness with a touch of woo. Like
Oh, I love
I,
it.
I was always into visualization, especially with bodybuilding. They always said visualize
Oh,
yourself on
sure.
stage winning,
Absolutely.
right? Olympic athletes do it. And it's funny when you talk about science, they say it's scientifically your brain doesn't know the difference of whether you've already done it or you're preparing to do it. So you're like telling your brain, I've done this, I'm winning, I have the medal. You could feel like the medal that you're winning, the trophy. And to your point, yeah, science shows that helps for sure.
And I know you know this, but even to the point where when you're lifting and you're concentrating on that muscle, people develop more muscle structure by
Hmm.
thinking about the muscle. So, oh, and do you know, I should know this, but I really don't know. Do you know the reason for that? There's got to be some sort of body mind connection there.
I think
But
there is a body mind connection, and I don't know the specifics of it, but I have heard that. I have heard that is true for sure.
yeah. And I
I
mean,
love that.
you know what? I am one of those people, I'm guessing you are to a degree too, that I don't have to know the science behind everything. I I'm intrigued. I get excited when the things that we're talking about right now, you can see that there's a reason, like a black and white
Yeah.
in your face on a book reason, but a lot of times you just have to go with the trust.
Yes. Yes. It's like
So,
trust that it work. Like it's
yeah,
working for people somehow. So it's like we don't question gravity. We don't know the scientifically like what like all the
right, yeah.
details. We
I
just
don't
know
know
we
the
stay.
details on gravity.
Me neither. I just know it works every morning. I don't know.
When I wake up, I'm gonna be like, "Where
Like,
am I?
wait,
Is it
wait,
working?"
is it working today? Right? I love it.
Oh
I love it.
my. Okay. So we also talked just briefly before we turned on the mic that you're learning a lot more about just intuition and how to apply it. So wellness with a touch of woo. I love it. Dive
Yeah.
in.
Yes. So it's really about getting out of your head and into your heart. So I'll use the bodybuilding as an example. Very structured eating, very structured workouts. Everything was very regimented. So when you're knocked off your game by things happening around you that you can't control, it's like, okay, I've made it a practice. I get up and work out. I do some kind of movement every morning. Well, it used to be weightlifting, which I love, but I haven't been sleeping well with everything going on. So now it's walking. Now it's yoga. I try to just wake up and say, what do I need today? What does my body need? What does my soul need? Sometimes it's literally just meditating. Sometimes it's walking the dog. Like and having grace with yourself to say, okay, this is what my body needs today. Maybe tomorrow. And the other thing I've taken up that I just love is pickleball. So when things are going on, keeping your hands and your mind and movement like has been so therapeutic. I've always been like, what's all the rage with pickleball? And I play it and I'm like, this is so fun. And I don't have to think about anything else going on.
Right. And there are certain things I do. I don't mountain bike as much as I used to, but at one time I did a lot of mountain biking and I still do a lot of kayaking in whitewater. And what I notice is that when I'm doing it, I can't think about anything else. My mind is 100%, 110% on what's going on, and this and my interaction with the world of nature, right? And it just gives you this feeling that's hard to explain, and it's so cathartic. And and I guess you get that too, like I'm from pickleball
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
and there's things that we can do where we can disassociate our brain but still engage our body that just like it's like everything lights up.
Yes. Yes. It's so amazing. And again, I think it goes back to training your mindfulness, right? that you're focused, that you're doing something, and that you're engaging. And it's like the hand, the eyes, the everything is. I just, it's just awesome. But like to your point, it's just gives you this amazing energy. It is just very just cathartic.
It does, and when you come back into the regular world, um, it's brighter. It
It
really is.
is. It is. You have a much better outlook, and it's like it almost like it's like stress relief, you know?
It is. It is. So, all right. So you are going, you are no longer competing, but you're
Right.
still training.
Yes.
You're still doing a lot of the other stuff that you do.
Mhm.
When you have time, I love that you said you give yourself grace, because I use that word all the time. I'm like telling my clients, just give yourself grace, trust yourself, trust.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
when we trust ourselves, our bodies tell us what we want and
Yeah.
what we need,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
It's so true. I've been so like laser focused on my nutrition, and I'm like, I just have 5 pounds to lose. I just want to lose these 5 pounds. And now I haven't been, I mean, obviously I still eat similar foods, but I'm not structured. I'm not counting. I'm not tracking. And the weight is falling off. Probably from stress or not sleeping, but that's besides the point. But the point is, the point is I'm not like obsessing about my food. I'm like, I'm having guac and chips. I had, a brownie the other night, but I'm also having salad and chicken and right. You know what I mean? So it's like, letting go and trusting yourself, to your point.
Ooh, okay, so talk about that for a second, because one of my clients said that she wanted to try intuitive eating, but she was afraid. Like, she was afraid she couldn't trust herself. And I'm like, I think you can trust yourself, but are there some ideas you have that people can use to kind of
Mhm.
apply it?
Yes, yes. So it's funny because I had this mindful mentorship course that I used to offer, and it was about how um, allowing yourself, like not restricting anything, like allowing yourself to have the stuff that you think is bad. There are no bad foods. There are no foods that are off limits. You've created that rule for yourself. So having some nutritional commitments, and maybe those look like I have protein at every meal. I have a vegetable. I have fruit at least once a day. Having like really loose nutritional commitments could help you. So it gives you a little bit of structure, but a lot of flexibility. And then eating without distraction, mindfully, you and
Oh,
the food. That's it. No
oh,
phone, no
I'm
TV, no book.
I am so not there. I hate to
Yeah.
say it. I hate to say it. That is probably like, if you were to say, "What's your worst habit, Kelly?" And I'm really thinking about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I eat distractedly.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's a way to tell, like, that you're full. I know how many times I've worked at my computer and ate lunch and I'm like, I don't remember even eating that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know I'm full until all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what did I just eat?"
Yeah, yeah, and like even the taste and the texture of food, right? A lot of times, if you sit and focus on it, and that's all you're thinking about, you're like, "Wow, I didn't. This tastes really good," or "Look at how colorful," or whatever. It's like we're so just like not robots, but you're trying to you have a lot of stuff to get done.
Yeah, I know, and it seems like multitasking is an okay thing to do when it comes to food. Um, and I'm not even sure, like, there's this twinge in the back of my head that says I probably don't get all the nutrients and health benefits out of my food when I'm not paying attention to it, you know?
True,
And
true.
who knows? Like, there you go. That's some woo. So
There,
we'll have to see if we can find the science behind that one. But it's
yes,
just like, it kind of plays in the back of my head that probably it's not that valuable to just like stuff your face.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'd
without
agree with that.
mindfulness. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's all go back. All goes back to mindfulness.
It does, actually. It really does. So, okay, what's next for you? I mean, tell us, like, if you were to say to everybody listening, here are some suggestions that I have as far as like what's next for me that might help you. What would some of those be?
Yeah. So, if you don't have a meditation practice, I always say training your brain is as important as training your body. So, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'll give you the best practice that I'm working on right now. Before you get on your after you go brush your teeth, go to the bathroom, do the things you do when you wake up. Before you get on your phone, interact with another human being, do anything else, spend 15 to 20 minutes in silence, just sitting with your thoughts. Because when you wake up, it's the least amount of resistance. Like you are open. You're open, your mind is like fresh, you haven't nothing's tainted it yet. And just sit with your thoughts, and sometimes it might be helpful to journal. Just think through what you're thinking about, maybe what you dreamt about, but spend that time because it's the equivalent of you wouldn't run out of your house with like no clothes on, your hair undone, like blah. But think about it, that's how you go into your day when you don't. It's almost like brushing your teeth, but for your brain. So meditation, I would say number one, making sure you get outside and try to get your steps in. I'm a huge proponent. I know everybody raves about 10,000 steps. Start wherever you are. So if you're at 5,000, maybe shoot for 7. If you're at 7, shoot for 10. But try to get those steps in because whether it's through a formal workout, if you have a dog, like just getting out and away. If you have a desk job, getting up, getting outside, just getting those steps in, I think is so important. The movement, and then try to get protein. I feel like most people don't eat enough protein. And it's the hardest. Like you need to make an effort to get protein in your diet. As we age, we lose muscle. I know I'm preaching to the choir. So getting protein combined with weight training is like that's the fountain of youth. That's what's going to really help prevent injury, keep that muscle as we get older. But the protein, I personally believe, is very important.
I love it. And everybody who's listening who knows me, they're like, "Oh, yeah, Kelly told her to say those things."
No, no, we didn't. We were just like we're like kindred spirits. We're on the same page
Oh.
for sure.
Yes, so I love okay, so those are 3 really good, I'm gonna call them action tips, but they're not necessarily action tips because
Yeah.
that moment in the morning, makes a difference. It really does.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
I try. I don't do this every morning, but what I do try is I usually wake up, call it 3 in the morning to pee. And so I try and like, make sure I really like empty my bladder so that when I do wake up ready to go, I don't have to get out of bed yet. I can do that meditation before I get out of
Yes.
bed.
I love
And
that.
there's there seems to be a little bit more to it when you can do that early in the morning than when I used to wait. And then, before I sat down at my computer, I do my meditation and it just wasn't the same. It
Same.
seemed different. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I've noticed a difference too because I recently made the switch. I was talking to a fellow woo, and she was like, "When do you meditate?" And I said, "Oh, right before I log on to my computer for the day. I'll spend like 5 or 10 minutes." And she was like, "No." She's like, "You need to do it before." Because a lot of times then all of a sudden the morning gets away from you. I'm like in a rush. I don't get a chance to do it. She's like, if you do it before you get out of bed, there's no chance you'll miss it.
Yeah, there is something to that, something
Hmm.
truly magical to that, and, yeah, yeah, I've noticed that it has changed my I will say this, it has changed my world in the last
Mm,
3 months,
love it.
um, and it was funny, it started with me when I was in Costa Rica, and the place I wake up early, like, I just wake up early, 4:30, 5 o'clock is, my time up. But the place I was staying didn't have coffee until 6.
No.
So, I was like, "Okay, this is your chance, Kelly. You don't have anything else to do, so
That's
I want
it.
you to meditate
Oh,
for
I
that
love
period of
it.
time."
I
And
love
and
it.
it just kinda started something, it was interesting. For me,
I
it was
love that.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great use of your time though.
Yes. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up in just a second, but let me ask you, is there anything else, or what else would you like to share with everybody?
Yeah. So, you mentioned in my bio, I recently became sort of a certified sound healer, and it's funny. It's something I did that I did it. I had a retreat, and I was like, oh, I just want to do it for the retreat. And it's the sound healing. If anyone has ever done it, is so powerful because we're like how much like 80-90% water, and it's basically the vibrations, the frequency of like the sound bowls and the other instruments. Um, so I would highly recommend if anyone has not done it to try it. And then my other little tip is there's something called the solfeggio frequency, Solfreggio, and it's the same frequency that monks chant at. And if you just go on YouTube, search it up, play it in the background, it is so incredibly soothing and healing. Like you will notice a difference in just how you approach things. Like it's just, I don't know, it's very grounding and soothing. So that is my recommendation. And I know we talked about it before we hopped on, but that's what I'm trying to do now in corporations to help people that are stressed to get them back in the office is meditation, sound healing, getting people out of their heads and into their hearts.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
so much. And so instead of just coming back after the commercial with those tips that you gave us, I want to just go ahead and like go through them one more time.
Yeah.
And so you said that we should be doing training our brain with meditation and breath work, and then get outside, get the steps in, but just like really, really feel the outside, right?
Yep. Yep. Get
Yeah.
that vitamin D.
Get the vitamin D in there. And then
Mhm.
the protein and the protein. So I just question, because I always ask this everybody who tells me more
Yeah.
protein.
Yep.
What's your number? Like, what do you
Um,
try and hit a day?
I tell people for women a minimum of 100 grams. So if you could get 30 to 40 at each meal, that would be great. And I know people are like, well, I don't eat meat. I don't like to. I'm like, egg whites, collagen, bone broth. Like there's lots of vegetarian options, but those are like some easy ones. And don't be afraid of protein powder and protein bars. But I'm a huge fan of eggs. But again, it's like that needs to be like the foundation of each meal because you know carbs and fat are everywhere. They're super easy to get. Protein's
Yeah,
a little harder.
protein is harder to get. Yeah, it's been one of those things that I did not put any emphasis on for the first 58 years of my life. So
But
I've
now you
been
know
playing a
better.
catch up game.
Now you know better.
Oh, so thank you so much for being here with us. We truly, truly appreciate this.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast chatting with you.
You too.